key that I want to share with you is what we call creating a conscious leadership culture. I'm going to break this down for you. So there's two terms here, conscious leadership and conscious culture. So this is how we talk about the future of leadership. And that word future is important. I love seeing gold star here, guys. Like, I hope you're getting extra credit in class or whatever. I love seeing the generations in the room. How many of you are struggling a bit or know organizations that are struggling a bit with managing the demands of 4, in some organizations, 5 generations in the workplace? Anybody struggling with that besides me? Right. We have 4 to 5, depending on how you look at it and where your demographic is, generations in the workplace. This is the first time in history we've had this many disparate groups that have different values, different life experience, which is great, right? It's the diversity that we need to make our products and our services the best they can be. But it's also creating a lot of turmoil in organizations, because how do we create a benefits package, Kristen Nordling? How do we create a benefits package in HR that matches what somebody who's 70 and still working and somebody who's 17 and has their first job? It's nearly impossible. But what we have to do is we have to come together as conscious leaders. So I want to talk about conscious leadership for a minute. Everyone knows what leadership is. There's a lot. There's no one definition. Conscious leadership is just taking it a step further, where you have love, care, and respect for the people within and around your organization. That's what Tony Dungy was. He was a man of faith, and he talks about his faith. That was one aspect. Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning were conscious leaders. They cared more about the people than they did the result, and therefore the result was really good. But they showed up to make sure the people had what they needed. They could live into their strengths every day. Do you guys know the number one reason? Forbes just did this. They pull all the exit interview data from all the big companies. The number one reason in the last year that people are leaving companies, what do you think it is? I'll give you a hint. It's not salary and it's not benefits. 5 and 6 on the list. That was number 2. An ability to use my strengths every day. Seriously? We have people showing up and all they want is to feel valued and feel like they're doing what their God-given talents were meant for them to do. Doesn't feel very expensive to me. That's what conscious leadership does. Statistically, employees give us 40% of what they're capable of. Think about that for a second. And I know some of you, I know the initial reaction when I share that stat with a lot of leaders is like, those lazy sons of... I know, some of you thought that. It's okay, I won't ask you to raise your hand. But here's what that stat actually means. It means we have people in our organizations that have 60% more capabilities that they don't even know. They are not showing up every day like, stick it to you guys. I'm just going to sit here. I mean, maybe in a government job, like they might be, but not in our organizations, hopefully. But like, people aren't showing up not wanting to add value. As humans, we are activated by achievement. It's naturally how we're programmed. So why in our organizations are we allowing people to show up and not be challenged and not be told, I see something else in you? How many of you have had a coach or a mentor in your life that saw something in you before you saw it in yourself? How many of you? I really hope everybody. I hope if you sit and think about it, there's been somebody that said, you're capable of more. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a coach or a mentor. I had one of those people. I want to describe for you the first exposure I had to conscious leadership in my big corporate experience. So when I was first out of school, go Hawks, I got an IT degree. Don't tell anybody, please, because nobody actually knows anymore that I have an IT degree. But back in the day, IT was cool when I was graduating from college. And so I didn't really love IT. But I was like, I'm going to go get an IT degree because it's the new cool thing. This is where everybody's going, right? So I got an IT degree, and I went to work for Cargill, an amazing company. I had an amazing boss. And 6 months in, right out of college, she sat me down and she said, we need to talk. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's have a talk. And she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're not an IT person. And no joke, my first reaction was, I know, right? Thank God, somebody I've been carrying this burden. And then my 22-year-old brain caught up with my mouth. And I thought, oh, I've seen this on TV. Like this, I know what's happening here. I think I'm going to lose my job. Like I couldn't take the words back. And Jackie looked at me and she said, but there are some strengths that I see in you that no one else on this team has. So she said, give me 6 months and I'm going to get you into a role that utilizes your strengths because we need it. And I'll figure out something else, right, for the pieces that you're not good at. 22 years old. That was my first exposure to true leadership. It's why I talk all over the country on stages and tell the story about her. She's still impacting me many, many years later. That's what conscious leadership is. What's the easy thing for Jackie to do? What would have made her life easier? Send me on my way. It would have been much easier to just go find somebody that had the skills that she needed. But instead, she chose to invest in me because she knew she had a stronger team if I was on that team in the right seat on the bus. That's what conscious leadership is. You know, it can sound fluffy to some people, but when you look at the stats of culture, 77% of job seekers right now, especially this next generation, are researching the heck out of your culture before they decide if they're going to join. Talk to the HR people about the questions that are being asked in interviews that are blowing their minds of like, we don't even have a good answer to this. We should probably think about this. We are no longer in the time of, I pay you, you come in and do work. Thank you very much. To create the dream team, you have to care about them, truly care about them as humans, inside and outside of work, and they have to care about each other. Because that's how we solve problems. That's how we get through crisis.